half of all ChatGPT use is in the asking category. So people aren't just treating AI like a task rabbit.
Hit it! That's what I'm talking about. Wait!
Okay, now, from the beginning.
Hit it, boys.
Welcome to Higher Ed Pulse, your no-fluff guide to artificial intelligence in higher ed. I'm Mallory Willsea, bringing nearly 20 years of edtech and marketing expertise straight to your earbuds. Higher ed leaders are expected to master AI overnight, but let's be real, no one has time to sift through every headline, hot take, or research report. That's why every Monday, I'll break down what actually matters, fast, clear, and to the point. Want to sound like the smartest person in the room at your next team meeting? You're in the right place. Let's dive in. Welcome back to Higher Ed Pulse. On today's episode, OpenAI just dropped a study analyzing 1.5 million ChatGPT conversations from 700 million weekly users. The data reveals how people actually use AI, asking for advice, guidance, and comparison more than task completion. And today, we're connecting those behaviors directly to higher ed and what they mean for our marketing teams, our enrollment leaders, and our students. With me today is Heather Mueller, Chief Customer Officer and co-founder at Capture Higher Ed. Heather partners with institutions across the country to connect data, tech, and strategy in ways that move the enrollment needle. She's built her career helping campuses navigate shifting student behavior, emerging tools, and new expectations for ROI. And today, she joins us to unpack what OpenAI's new research means for our industry and where leaders should focus as AI becomes a daily advisor for students and families. Heather, welcome to the Pulse.
Mallory, thank you so much for having me. I've been so excited for this conversation.
Ditto. And, we're like smack dab in the middle of conference season. So thank you for taking some time out of your schedule. I know you were at NACAC a few weeks ago. I just got back from Digital Collegium. Heather, what are you hearing out on the streets? Because it feels like our industry is in like unprecedented times, to say the least.
Technology, Mallory. Gotta love it, right? So I spent some great time at NACAC with our current partners, with prospects, wandering around the exhibit hall, right? Checking out what's going on. And I will tell you one thing that I saw is that every booth, almost every booth, except for maybe like the swag guy, had AI, right?
Wow.
Plastered all over the presence of the company. And a lot of the conversations that we were having is, we know AI is here. We're not certain what to do. We have some thoughts. My president is saying we need to use it, right? How do I use it in a way that will help my team? How do I use it in a way to help us hit our goals? What the heck do we do, right? That's been the baseline technology conversation. And the great news is that we heard a lot of stories of success, wins for colleges and universities, hitting records, right? Bringing in the classes that they needed, the classes that they wanted. And so it's always a great time of celebration whenever you get to hear those stories.
So true. I mean, I'm glad that people are opening their eyes to understanding that AI is here and that we need to do something with it. But I do have to laugh if you're saying every booth says AI on it somewhere. I'm kind of questioning if that's real. Have we really integrated AI, or are we just calling it AI? I don't have the answers.
I don't have the answers. I have some thoughts and ideas and some theories about it. But, we've been using the power of AI before it was cool. But there are lots of opportunities out there for companies and for colleges and universities and their teams, for sure.
Well, let's talk about some of the data that's just come out from OpenAI. They've given us one of the clearest looks yet at how people actually use Gen AI. Their researchers analyzed 1.5 million ChatGPT conversations spanning billions of messages. And I want to highlight 4 findings. The first, ChatGPT is becoming an advisor, not a doer. Roughly half of all use is asking, people looking for advice, judgment, and decision support, compared to things like task completion or just casual conversation. So in other words, users aren't just asking AI to finish their tasks, they're actually leaning on it for guidance. Second, non-work use is growing fastest. In 2024, just over half of usage was personal, and today it's nearly 3/4. The strongest growth is in the younger cohorts, which means our traditional student audience, those 18 to 24-year-olds, they are already among the heaviest daily users. This is the first generation coming of age with AI as a constant companion. Third, 3 core use cases dominate. Writing, information seeking, and practical guidance account for 80% of all conversations. And in professional contexts, 2/3 of writing queries are about editing and refining text, not generating from scratch. That shows people value iteration and feedback more than pure automation. And last but not least, education's already an organic use case. About 10% of all ChatGPT conversations involve tutoring or teaching. AI is already becoming a learning companion, not just a productivity tool. So Heather, let's look at each of those 4 things in turn. So let's go back to that first one, AI as an advisor versus a doer, right? So the data broke it up into asking, doing, and expressing as the 3 categories. And half of all ChatGPT use is in the asking category. So people aren't just treating AI like a task rabbit. So to get the ball rolling, like, how are you using it, Heather? Like, in your own experience, do you find that your usage of Gen AI is aligned to the data that OpenAI is reporting?
Yes. When I was reading through the report, I felt like I was reading the story of myself, right? Ooh. Everything from the personal side. We became a camping family and bought an RV. And so I have ChatGPT serving as my RV repair expert all the time, right? Looking for some advice on how to move through it, or even in business, right? In a day where I'm trying to work through a problem and just need some more ideas to consider. I think I use it all the time. How about you?
Yeah. I mean, I just turned to ChatGPT for everything. Google.com no longer exists for me. I create interesting images with my friend's daughter and a whole storyline about my dog and like how she's a pop diva princess. I've mentioned this on the podcast before. It's incredibly fun and creative, all the way to how do I cast my Chrome browser to my television and like everything in between. If I have a question now, I just go ask ChatGPT.
Yes. 100%. I feel like the days of, why don't you just Google that, feel almost over, right? I'm pulling up and asking the question there, because I feel like I can get to the answer easier.
Yes. And so if ChatGPT is now taking this role as an advisor at our side, let's put this into the business context. Like, people, our new employees, our current employees, they are already bringing AI habits with them when they join our companies. So it feels like our companies and also our colleges now have to play some catch up, right? Like, are we actually ready for a generation that's just going to expect AI as our companion?
You know, catch up is a good term, right? I think that we have a lot.
Not mustard.
Road.
No, sorry.
Not mustard. Maybe like it, prefer it on a hot dog. But we have a lot of road to cover or to close in how we, right, as professionals are using these tools. The students that we're working with, I would consider and classify as AI literate, right? They're proficient. It's part of their normal days, right? When we were younger and text messaging was happening and we moved out of pushing the 9 button 3 times to get to a letter to emojis, right? It changed the way that our business worked. And I feel like AI is doing that for us now, ChatGPT being one of those tools. Now I have a 9-year-old, right? And they're in their technology class going through AI exercises with ChatGPT today. It's wild, right? What they're coming to the table with. And so I think it's really important for us to think about with our teams, how do we leverage the tools, one, so that we're familiar and we're in that world with the customers, right? The prospective students and their families that we're working with. And then to look at our business and find ways that we can use it for efficiency, right? We can use it to help us think through problems, provide the resources, automate, advise there's a lot that I don't think that we've formalized, that we need to get into.
And I think to that point, organizations need to stop underestimating that advisor role, because we're focused so much on productivity gains with the conversation of AI. And that's where a lot of the headlines, certainly over the last couple months, have all been hitting, right? Like that AI is not enabling the expected productivity gains. And I had a different podcast conversation a couple weeks ago all about that one. You can go back and listen to it. But maybe as C-level leaders, we need to not focus as much on the productivity gains, or focus at least equally on the decisioning support that AI can provide. And there are gains to be made in terms of time back as a manager if you have this expert advisor that you can gift your employees.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, some of the fear with AI is the replacement part, right? If the technology is there, do you need a human to do it? And I think that in all cases, in all evolution of technology, AI now today, it's about how do you leverage it to maximize the human, right? And so if you're using the shortcut of the research, the advisor next to you, your buddy, right, to be able to help you move through problem solving, to help your team find information, be a better advisor to their students that they're working with, there's nothing but gains to be had there, right? The fear factor, I think that we can put it down. We just have to know how we're going to use it in our organization.
But this brings us to the second data point here. It's actually the non-work use cases that are dominating ChatGPT's overall usage. Now, I'll give the caveat that the research released did not include data from team or enterprise accounts. And I think we have to safely assume a lot of the work that's happening is happening in those team and enterprise accounts. But when we do isolate the personal accounts, we see that nearly 3/4 of ChatGPT use is personal, and it is growing strongest with younger users, those 18 to 24-year-olds. And in my enrollment marketing brain, right, I'm thinking, this is a generation growing up with AI at their side. And so by the time a student is ready for their college search and they're asking ChatGPT about best fit institutions or scholarships or deadlines, like, it's already in their circle of trust. Like, it's GPT bestie, and GPT bestie is giving, there's trust that is implied there. It is giving these recommendations. So the question is whether your institution is going to wind up in those recommendations. Like, how are you interpreting all of this, Heather?
Yeah, some of the conversations we've begun having it with our partners are, when we think about content in the recruitment marketing process, when we think about the role of the admissions counselor, when we think about all of these things in the context of ChatGPT is my bestie, right? We know that a website today, we all focus on SEO, we focus on all of those technologies, those tools, right, to be found and the right thing found when you need it to be. And now we need to start thinking about how is it AI enabled, right, to be able to be read and summarized and the way to be popped in. So when your ChatGPT bestie is giving you some recommendations, my institution is there, right, to your point. And when we think about admissions counselors, we've known for a long time, right, and the industry knows that prospective students in this age group, they are 100% doing research before they're talking to your team. Before you talk to your team, while they're talking to your team, after they talk to your team. And they're seeking the information when they want it and how they want it. And so how do you become the advisor to the advisor, right? How do you create that irreplaceable experience that only the human, right, and that relationship builder can do during the admissions process? So those are some of the conversations that we've begun having, which is really an interesting shift when you think about having strategy conversations with enrollment managers and marketers.
Here's a quick word from our sponsor. Southeast Missouri State University needed to launch more targeted campaigns faster, yet they were bogged down by manual campaign builds, slow approvals, and vendor overload. With Element 451, they eliminated 5 vendor tools and gained marketing superpowers in one platform. They saw a 13% increase in applications, processed applications within 2 days, and achieved 33 to 35% email open rates. The impact: personalized, automated campaigns running at scale without the drag. Ready to turn your next campaign around in hours, not weeks? Try an agent today at element451.com/agents. Is Reddit coming up in any of your conversations with clients?
It is, right?
I need to know everything.
It is, whether it's content, right? Advertising, making sure that you've got the right stuff out there, because the conversation's happening with or without you, right? And so how do you become part of the conversation or make sure that the information that's readily available is designed, right, to be read and fed?
Yeah. If I was managing a digital ambassador team, I would be directing 38%, highly scientific, 38% of their time at minimum towards Reddit, because we know it's fueling these AI overviews and GPT responses. And it is also its own space where families and prospective students are going to get a sense of your institution. So it's kind of a double whammy if you are not being represented there. So I had to ask.
Absolutely. It's very interesting. It's like a rabbit hole. I don't know about
It
you.
is.
I get
It's my
lost.
favorite rabbit hole.
Yeah.
I love competition reality TV, and so does Reddit, for the record.
Fantastic.
So the third data point that I found really interesting is this idea of iteration over automation. So OpenAI's data shows that writing, information seeking, and practical guidance account for 80% of all conversations. In professional context, 2/3 of writing queries are about editing and refining text, not generating it from scratch. So this is not the story of people wanting AI to replace them. It's the story of people wanting AI to iterate with them and to edit and polish and act like a collaborator. Like, we're in conference season. I have been using AI this way to help me prepare for every single one of my presentations and help me find the gaps, right? So what do you think, Heather, that this says about how people just prefer to operate? Because look, it feels for me a lot less risky to turn to ChatGPT bestie, work bestie, and ask it to poke holes in my stuff than it does my boss.
Yeah, it's true. I, like you, use it all the time, right? To either help refine a thought that I just can't get out of my head and onto the paper, right? Or when I'm putting together a presentation to make sure that I'm getting the big points across in a clear way. I think that we have some opportunity here to recognize that our ChatGPT work bestie is going to come to us in the form of co-pilots over and over and over again, right? If you remember back in the day, Word had Clippy, right? It was a little dancing paperclip. And that was our first co-pilot, right? That I can remember in my work life. But today, whether it's working through an email, right, to communicate, working through a presentation, I'm grateful to know that this report shared data that says that we're using it in that iterative way. that we're using our big, beautiful brains to develop the ideas, and then to have that always on partner to be able to brainstorm with, or to tighten up what we're trying to say so that it's more clear. That makes me happy, because there were some point in time where people were worried, right, that people stopped using their brain and only used the AI. And so I think it takes a little bit of the fear again out of the technology. It is my bestie at work. Don't tell the rest of them.
I was just going to ask, at Capture, how are your teams utilizing AI? Like, where have you found clear integration points?
I would say that we're using it in pockets across the organization, whether it's in content development, where our writers are using it to help refine and make sure that we're reflecting the brand of the institution well. That would take hours of editing and refining on their own. We can move through that process and make it more exacting much more quickly. To our marketing team, right? I feel like my vice president of marketing talks about how Claude is their best friend. Sorry, OpenAI. And in generating ideas, in being that brainstorming partner, right? Our executive team uses it all the time to refine communications, to brainstorm through problems. I do that often myself. We even have our development team using it to help build out, whether it's an agent to QC code, right? That would be more time for a human, that we can use that human's brain to develop new things, right? And so finding the places of that repetitive task stuff, we've leveraged it across the organization, always keeping in mind that the human is actually the big brain, right? They are the big creative. They are the big innovator. It's just, how do we use it to improve and make space for more of it? And that's how we've been using it as of late anyway. I'm certain that it'll evolve again like tomorrow.
Oh, yeah. By the time this podcast drops, it will have evolved 10 more times, I am sure.
Yes.
You just said, the human is the big brain. That signals to me that the human needs to be the subject matter expert. And I really wonder, look, today in 2025, for you and me who've been in this industry for a really long time, we are subject matter experts, right? We do know how to treat AI like an editor and kind of pinpoint the good from the AI slop. But I really wonder 2 or 3 decades from now if that's still going to be the case, because a lot of things are interlinked here. And we know that AI is going to eat up entry level positions. That's just a fact. So how are we going to get subject matter experts when we don't have a pipeline to create them? And who is going to be evaluating whether or not what AI is creating, generative AI is creating, is good or not? I mean, I don't know that we've got answers, Heather, but these are the questions I have.
I don't know that I have those answers at all. I think they're really good questions to constantly be asking, right? I think with any technology, the more curious we are, right, the better. I think that the more we ask those big questions, Mallory, I think about our son, right, and what the world of work will look like for him compared to today. And it's a thing that I'm uncertain of, but I feel like we'll keep learning along the way as long as we stay curious in it.
And I want to touch on it briefly, but the last data point I pulled out is around ChatGPT as a tutor and a teacher, right? And this flows from what we were just saying into this topic, because AI itself is becoming the first stop for tutoring and teaching. And what is the role of the human educator or mentor? How is that going to start to shift if AI is handling the first pass at explaining concepts, right? We, in just the last 20 minutes, have both acknowledged that we turn to AI to ask these questions, right? So what is the future of the profession and the industry that we're even in, Heather? This is an existential crisis we are landing on now. Oh, no.
I mean, way to keep it it light, Mallory. I don't know. I think that it is a question that's within our industry, certainly, right? I think the fact that students are using it in the classroom and for work has become, in the early days, earth-shattering, right? And then we figure out how to be in it with it. And so I have no doubt that as we continue, we'll figure it out. We'll find the place that is the best for young learners, for the industry, and we will have to evolve with it. And I think that's the critical piece, whether it's in the classroom, right, or in an admissions office or in a marketing office. We are going to have to evolve with the technology because our consumers, right, our prospective students, our current students, our learners are already there.
My big takeaway from this data is that AI is just infrastructure now. It's become the baseline for how every generation here on out is going to expect to work and learn and make decisions. It's embedded itself as that advisor in our lives, and that is only going to increase. My last question to you, Heather, if you were briefing a president at one of your client institutions on this data, what is the one thing you'd want them to remember walking out of the room?
I think that I would share with them that from the ground level, right, our students are already using this technology. Our teams need to embrace it. Our teams need to leverage it so that we can maximize their brilliance, right, and their authentic human relationship building selves. But the reality is that we need to get on the bandwagon, so to speak, and figure out very quickly how our institutions are going to leverage, that are going to empower their teams in using this technology. And I think there are going to be some big questions about the data usage, right, that institutions are going to need to address and be thinking about as we continue forward.
Well, on that note, folks, if you've been inspired to maybe learn a little bit more about the latest and greatest when it comes to artificial intelligence, I'll add a link to our show notes where you can register for free for the AI Engage Summit that is happening just around the corner, October 15th and 16th. It's virtual, it's free, it's 2 afternoons. You can come and go as you please. The schedule and agenda is up online, and it's covering everything from ethical AI to GEO versus SEO, ChatGPT agents, and so much more. So definitely, do not miss out on this free opportunity, friends. And Heather, it was just such a pleasure to get to chat with you today. Thank you so much. Where can listeners find you?
You can find me on LinkedIn, Heather Mueller. You can find me at capturehighered.com, our company site, or at a conference near you.
Love it. Amazing. Well, folks, we will catch you at that conference or on the next episode of The Pulse. Bye-bye. Thanks for listening to the Higher Ed Pulse. The show is a proud member of the Enrollify Network, home to Higher Ed's largest collection of podcasts. Enrollify is where higher ed goes to grow. So be sure to check out our other podcasts, webinars, video clips, blogs, and more. Visit Enrollify.org and subscribe for all the latest details and content drops directly to your inbox. Enrollify is brought to you by Element 451, the digital workforce platform for higher ed. Learn more at element451.com.